Picture this. You're starving. You're exhausted. You've just had the longest night of your life, right? Maybe you stayed up studying for a final. Maybe you pulled a double shift. So, what do? You hit the drive-thru. You grab a coffee, a hash brown, maybe a Big Mac. A perfectly normal, forgettable Tuesday morning. Except for Laken Snelling. Because for Laken, this trip to the Golden Arches wasn't just about breakfast. It was an alibi. It was her first stop after cleaning the blood and the evidence of the most unimaginable secret. She had just given birth, and less than 100 yards away, tucked inside a trash bag in her apartment closet, lay the body of her newborn baby. Think about that for a second. The smell of that fresh McDonald's coffee in her car, the sound of the paper bag crinkling, all while she was still carrying the weight, the heavy, bloody, horrific weight of what she had done. This is the story of a perfect life, a broken trust, and the shocking discovery that no one in that quiet Kentucky neighborhood could have seen coming. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Laws and Criminals. Seriously, thank you so much for hitting play on this one. Every view, every like, it genuinely keeps this channel alive, and it lets us keep digging into these stories that the news cycle just moves past too quickly. We are so close to hitting 500,000 subscribers, and I want to hit that milestone so bad. So if you're new here, or you're one of the 70% of viewers who hasn't clicked that subscribe button yet, do me a favor. Join the community, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive into the messy, complicated truth behind the Laken Snelling case. The scene of the crime is a quiet street, Park Avenue, near the University of Kentucky campus. It's exactly the kind of place where you'd expect to find a group of sorority sisters or teammates living together, focused on midterms and game days. And that's what it was. A shared apartment between 4 young women, all living the high-achieving college dream. Now, August 27th starts like any other day. The morning sun is creeping in, alarms are going off, and Laken, our central figure, she leaves the apartment. She's supposed to be heading to class. But not long after she's gone, her 2 roommates, let's call them Ashley and Chloe, start to notice something is wrong. It begins with noise. The affidavits state that in the early morning hours, around 4 a.m., Ashley and Chloe heard some commotion coming from Laken's room. Loud noises. They didn't think much of it at the time. You know how it is in college housing. Maybe someone dropped a heavy textbook, maybe they were up late doing laundry, who knows? They go back to sleep. But when they wake up later that morning, the apartment just feels off. And then one of the roommates, maybe just going to grab a bottle of water, notices it. A stain. A dark, significant, unmistakable stain on the carpet outside her closed door. And then the discovery. A blood-soaked towel tossed haphazardly near the entrance to her room. This wasn't a bloody nose. This wasn't a period stain. This was too much. This was too disturbing. You have to put yourself in their shoes for a second. They're 20, 21 years old. They're trained for cheerleading practice, for exams, for life after college. They are not trained for this. They text each other frantically, a digital whisper of pure panic. The one thing we know they said to each other was this: "We need to call the police." The 911 call goes out. Responding officers arrive quickly. They enter the apartment and, guided by the horrified roommates, they head to Laken's bedroom. The blood is everywhere, not just on the towel, but traces that suggest a desperate attempt at cleaning. They start searching. And that's when they find the trash bag, tucked away, deliberately hidden inside the closet. The officers open the bag, and inside, wrapped tightly in another towel, like a burrito, as Laken would later describe it, they find the body of a newborn infant, cold to the touch. A human being, a son, pronounced dead at the scene. Laken Snelling's normal Tuesday morning, the one that started with a McDonald's run, had just been torn apart. She returns home, perhaps expecting to smooth things over, perhaps oblivious to the magnitude of the discovery. She's detained immediately, and the facade of the high-achieving college athlete completely collapses. This is where the true crime element hits you in the gut, Because Laken Snelling wasn't some troubled kid from the wrong side of the tracks. She was the absolute picture of success. Laken Snelling, 21 years old, a senior at the University of Kentucky, a member of the competitive stunt cheerleading team, a White Pine, Tennessee native. Her life, for all intents and purposes, was a perfect, carefully curated Instagram grid of accomplishments. She was athletic, dedicated, disciplined. She had the grades, the skills, the team loyalty. She was the one who was supposed to be heading for a great life, a dream job, maybe a family someday. But as with so many of these cases, the picture you project is not the reality you live. Laken was hiding a massive, soul-crushing secret, a full-term pregnancy. I mean, imagine the sheer mental and physical resilience it takes to be a Division I college cheerleader, tossing, flipping, catching, tumbling, all while hiding a baby in your body. Her daily routine wasn't just practice in classes, it was an elaborate, terrifying masquerade. Every uniform fitting, every dinner with friends, every game day was a high-wire act. You know, you see these posts on social media, happy, smiling, vacationing, but I wonder, what was Laken posting in the weeks leading up to this? What was the caption on a photo where she was trying to suck in her stomach? Was she praying every night that this secret would just disappear, that the clock would run backwards? That feeling of connection to an audience, that constant validation social media gives you, it's what makes her life so relatable and ultimately so tragic. She was a young woman caught between the pressure of her perfect identity and the irreversible reality of biology. Friends and family were shocked. They described her as sweet, quiet, and fiercely resilient. No one saw this coming. No one saw the struggle. But the police did. They saw the receipts. In any modern criminal investigation, the truth is often found not in footprints or fibers, but in the blue light of a screen. And the real breakthrough in the Laken Snelling case not came from the bloody scene, but from the digital crumbs she left behind. After her arrest, Laken was taken to the University of Kentucky Hospital for medical treatment. It was there, while she was recovering and waived her Miranda rights, that she started talking to police. The details she provided were chilling, confirming her account of the birth, the fall, the belief the baby was dead, and the calculated attempt to cover it up with the trash bag. But the real evidence, the evidence that suggests not just a panic but a pattern of premeditation, came from the search warrants filed for her phone and her cloud accounts. Investigators discovered that in the days leading up to the birth, Laken had been searching terms like concealed or hidden pregnancy. Think about the coldness of that. Not searching for prenatal care, not searching for resources for new mothers. She was searching for concealment. She was looking for a way out of the identity crisis this baby represented. And the photos. Police found not only pregnancy-related pictures, but images of Laken while she was actually in labor. And here's the kicker. Many of those photos and other files had been recently deleted. The affidavits state that police believed she was actively trying to erase any digital evidence of the pregnancy and birth. It was one last frantic attempt to scrub her life clean before going back to being the perfect cheerleader. The same drive that made her a great athlete, that obsessive need for control and perfection, was used to commit a crime. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? In this age of digital transparency, where every moment is documented, do secrets even truly exist anymore? Or is the secret just the fact that we're all trying so hard to hide our imperfections, even the ones that are life-altering? The police had the physical evidence, the body, the blood. They had her confession, which included her saying she heard a whimper from the baby before she passed out and fell on him. That whimper is huge, legally. It suggests the baby may have been born alive and died due to negligence or force. And the motive? Meticulously laid out in her own search history and deleted photos. She wanted the baby gone. A few days after the discovery, Laken Snelling was formally arrested. The charges were serious, but maybe not as severe as they could be yet. She was charged with abuse of a corpse for the disrespect shown by placing the infant in a trash bag, tampering with physical evidence for the cleanup and the attempted digital deletion, concealing the birth of an infant for the entire elaborate facade. In a move that shocked many, she was released on a $100,000 surety bond. She pleaded not guilty to all charges and was placed under house arrest at her parents' home in Tennessee. This means she's free, for now, not even required to wear an ankle monitoring device. But her legal battle is just beginning. In a September court appearance, Laken, supported by about 10 young women who appeared to be her classmates, showing that even in this horror she has people in her corner, waived her right to a preliminary hearing. That means her case is going straight to a grand jury. This is a critical moment. The grand jury will review all the evidence, the affidavits, the search history, the crime scene, and most importantly, the final autopsy report. If that report determines the baby was born alive and died due to negligence or force, the grand jury could return a terrifying indictment, upgrading the charges to a homicide count. That simple word, whimper, is currently hanging over Laken's head, threatening to turn this from a tragedy of concealment into a case of murder. I want to take a detour here and talk about the psychology of this, because this isn't just about Laken Snelling, this is about a broader societal pressure cooker. Think about that apartment again. 4 young women all living in close quarters. How do you hide a pregnancy, a full-term pregnancy, from your own roommates? Laken was a cheerleader. Her life was about appearance, athleticism, and conformity. We have to ask the rhetorical question, what pressure did she feel to maintain that perfect image? Was it shame? Was it fear of disappointing her family, her coaches, or losing the scholarship that was her ticket to a better future? The reality is, she managed to maintain the physical facade right up until the last possible moment. The loud noises her roommates heard around 4 a.m. were the sounds of birth itself, sounds she clearly tried to keep muffled, hidden, and silent. She didn't go to a hospital. She gave birth alone, in her bedroom. In the darkest hour of the morning, she faced motherhood and rejected it, choosing instead to protect the life she already had. And listen to the details of her confession again. It's absolutely gut-wrenching. She describes wrapping the baby like a burrito in a towel and lying next to him on the floor for a moment, saying it gave her a little comfort. That detail is the most human part of this entire tragedy. It shows a flicker of maternal instinct, a moment of connection before the fear and panic slammed back in. It was a brief, silent goodbye to the child she couldn't allow herself to keep. Now let's talk about the McDonald's trip one more time, because it's the most bizarre, haunting detail. Snelling's narrative is that she was physically exhausted, feeling sick, and maybe trying to ground herself in the mundane. Quote, Laken stated that she did not go into class but sat in her vehicle in the parking lot. Ms. Snelling stated that she wasn't feeling well, so she ordered McDonald's through the McDonald's app. End quote. Captain Matthew Carrier, affidavit. She orders the food, she drives to the clinic, and she doesn't go inside. She's performing the motions of a sick, regular college kid, using fast food and a medical visit as a cover story. But she couldn't outrun the physical evidence. The blood was still there, the afterbirth was still there, and the baby was still in the closet. The level of disassociation required to consume a meal mere hours after giving birth and then concealing the body of your child is staggering. It's a terrifying glimpse into a complete mental break, a denial so total that she tried to literally eat breakfast and carry on with her day as if nothing had changed. But the real question is, what if that whimper she heard was true?
What if the baby was alive when she passed out and fell on him? What if that final blue and purple state was a result of that accident, or was it something more deliberate? Her lawyer, when questioned by the media, stressed that Laken is cooperating and that the investigation is ongoing to understand exactly what happened. But cooperating or not, the decision she made after waking up was fatal. She cleaned the crime scene and hid the victim. This case has now moved into a phase that is essentially a black box of justice, the grand jury. When Laken Snelling waived her right to a preliminary hearing, she essentially said, "I trust this process." But that's a huge gamble. The grand jury isn't focused on guilt or innocence right now. Their job is simply to determine if there is enough probable cause, based on the evidence, to move forward with a felony trial. And right now, all eyes are on the Fayette County coroner.
If the final, extensive microscopic analyses, which are required because the initial autopsy was inconclusive, come back with the determination that the baby was born alive and died of non-natural causes, everything changes. The current charges, abuse of a corpse, tampering, those are serious, yes, but they pale in comparison to a potential homicide charge. The entire legal narrative shifts from hiding a birth to causing a death. Laken's own words, the whimper, the fact she fell on the baby, her confession that she believed he was turning blue and purple before she wrapped him up, all these statements will be under the grand jury's microscope. And let's not forget the social media searches. They show intent to hide the existence of the child. Does that translate to intent to harm the child? That's the mountain Laken's defense team is facing. I saw a comment on one of the news articles about this case, and it stuck with me. Someone wrote, "She tried to delete her reality." And that's exactly what this is. A tragic, desperate attempt to hit the delete button on an irreversible life event. But in the legal world, you can't delete evidence. You can only conceal it, and that concealment comes with a penalty. Right now, she's home in Tennessee, on house arrest, wearing no monitor. A young woman who was the face of college athletics, now waiting for a group of strangers to decide if her fate is a few years in prison or a lifetime behind bars. It's a raw, human tragedy that shows how quickly the pressure to maintain a perfect life can shatter into unspeakable horror. It's a reminder that a smile in a uniform often hides a scream. So, what are your thoughts? Do you believe Laken Snelling passed out and accidentally fell on her newborn? Or do the deleted photos and the McDonald's alibi suggest a cold, premeditated attempt to erase the child from her life? The grand jury is meeting soon, and the final autopsy results will be the biggest game changer. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know what you think the grand jury should do. Should they file for murder, or should they stick to the concealment charges? Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this deep dive into the affidavits compelling, and please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be following this case closely, and you don't want to miss the update when that grand jury indictment drops. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.